Okay, so this is normal operations, emergency operations, staff training in a leisure centre. So if we go to the PowerPoint, we're on, this is the first point I'll make, and it's NOC. So what is it? It is normal operating procedures. So this is basically everyday things that the leisure centre must do in order to provide a service to the public. This includes facilities, people and staff. So when it comes to the facilities, they'll make sure it's clean. So like the pools, they'll make sure that it's clean, has the right amount of chlorine in so it doesn't sting people's eyes and cause them pain. They'll also make sure the sports hall's clean, so there's no rubbish, as people will leave like water bottles after an activity in there and stuff like that, and make sure the floor's clean and everything. And they'll also clean the general areas, so like main entrances, and make sure they're clear of any hazards. So like the canteen, make sure all the chairs are tucked in and like like nothing's on the floor like rubbish again or anything like that. So when it comes to the safety of the facilities, they'll check the facilities for any hazards and make sure that like all the fire alarms work and like all the extinguishers work for emergencies. When it comes to equipment as well, they'll check if that works, like equipment in the gym, like any machine weights like chest press or anything like that. They'll make sure that works and it's not unsafe to use. So when it comes to staff as well, they'll know how to deal with the public and have a good uniform. So when it comes to dealing with the public, they'll be able to be welcoming to the public and like talk to them. So they won't, when you ask them for their help, they won't be like, "What do you want?" They will be welcoming and say, "How may I help you?" Same when they answer the phone, they'll be like, "This is Portland Leisure Centre, how may I help?" They kind of like have a script or a way of being polite towards customers. So when it comes to people, staff will look out if they put themselves in danger. Like I've got two examples of weak swimmer and using gym equipment. So for example, like if there's a weak swimmer in the swimming pool, a staff member couldn't let them continue struggling. They'll have to help them, either give them pointers, give them lessons, something like that. This also comes down to basically the duty of care. So if it was like a 10-year-old kid or someone like that, you'll have to treat them to their needs. So if they're really weak at swimming, you'll have to help them on that, like even if they were in a good group where everyone else was such strong swimmers. Also, using gym equipment, if you see someone struggling because they're too heavy weights, they probably don't know what they're doing and they'll probably need help. So again, staff will have to like basically work up with them on that. So this is important as it means that the facilities are checked and are safe and are free from like rubbish or anything from like that. And this means that they can avoid some injuries from occurring, and it also means that the staff are like welcoming and looked the part as they are. They can also fill their job roles, so such as the cleaner. They'll make sure like all the places are safe and free from rubbish and like not cross-contaminating any germs. And also this fits into the Health and Safety Act, which is basically like which is basically general health and safety around in the workplace. And then if you don't have this, then like the following NOC, the facility can become unsafe and the leisure centre could get a bad reputation for being unsafe. So if we move on to the next slide with the example. So again, I've mentioned the cleaner. Even before they start cleaning, they'll check that to make sure there's no rubbish, so the bins are empty and everything like that, and there's no sharp objects. They would also like make sure there's no damage to the floor, so there's no big chips into the floor where you can trip or anything like that. Or they'll like make sure it's cut off, like caution rope or any caution tape is around it or anything like that. But they'll address that by telling like another member of staff, like a janitor or the manager. And they'll also look for like important places to clean, such as where there's a spilled drink which could cause an injury, like where there's a spilled any drink and people can slip. So when cleaning the floor, the cleaner would use a mop, and to stop cross-contamination, they would use a colour code system to stop germs from spreading. So a red mop is for the toilets, blue is for general areas, and like green is for the kitchen, and yellow is for like other things like blood, vomit and everything like that. So how does this contribute to safety? Well, basically By following NOC, it avoids some accidents from occurring, and other accidents like have a less chance of happening. And as there's for example, as there's no smoking policy where you can't smoke on the grounds or inside, no lit cigarettes can be chucked into rubbish and start to cause a fire, which basically brings me on to my next topic, which is EOC, and this is basically emergency operating procedure. And this is if an accident happens, staff are able to deal with the accident as they have training to deal with it. So it is important because if there was a fire, they can alert the people of the fire and get the people out of the building safely whilst keeping it a controlled environment. So if they don't follow the emergency procedures, then people can become unaware of the actions they need to take to keep safe, and they can start to panic as they don't know what to do in the emergency situation. So an example of this is at our leisure centre at Portland. If there was a fire, a member of staff or an adult would pull the fire alarm to alert people of the fire. Then they would escort like customers and public out of the building through fire exits, and then some of the members of staff will make it to the main entrance, where there is a system they have to go through where there's cards and given out to members of staff, and they have names of rooms on where they have to go and check to make sure that everyone's out, and they'll also check if the fire is a false alarm. So after checking the rooms, the employees what is working at the desk will lock up the money in case it's kind of an act to try and like rob the place or anything like that. And then they'll make their way out. Like all the staff will check the rooms, locked up the money. Will make their all of them will make their way out to join the customers at the fire assembly point, which at Portland is at the far corner near the recycling bins, and then they'll take care of the people and keep them calm. So how does this contribute to safety? Well, with fire alarms, they can alert people to danger, and also with the fire extinguishers, they can put out the danger themselves, so put out the fire. And also with fire exit signs and maps like directions how to get out of the building, they give public information to get out safe, and that's one of the fire exit signs. So if we go on to the next, this is basically kind of a layout of all the safety aspects. So as you can see, we've got a key here. So red is fire alarm / extinguishers, blue is fire exits, and green is first aid, which will come on later. But basically this is just a general map. So for the sports hall, what we're looking at, there's 3 fire exits here. There's a fire alarm here in the sports hall itself, and there's a fire alarm and extinguisher on the entrance into the way of the sports hall. And then in the storage cupboard, there's a full stocked first aid box with bandages, bandages, plasters, slings, everything like that. And then there's a fire extinguisher as well in there. So that's basically just the layout of the safety of our sports hall. So coming on to the final topic is ST, and this is basically staff training, which is when the staff are trained so that they are up to date with their qualifications and the roles they have to do in the leisure centre. This might be through house training, or with the employer sending staff on training events. So what do they learn kind of when they go through staff training? The basic things they learn is introduce themselves. So again, when they greet customers, saying who they are, and like being polite and welcoming and saying how may I help. And they also know how to locate the staff room, locate the toilets, locate entrances and exits, including emergency ones, know the fire procedure, which we've basically been through, the smoking policy. They learn basic first aid and how to point out hazards, and also how to prevent them hazards. So why this is important is because then the staff know the rules and regulations of the leisure centre in order to keep it a safe environment, and they also know how to engage customers, and they also gives them insurance, so they learn to fill in reports like for accidents, and if the customer decides to sue, then they can see what they've done and what they can't done, so there's no false allegations of saying they haven't treated me by doing this or anything like that. Also, it allows them to work with children, as like members of the Leisure Centre will be CRB checked to make sure they have no criminal record or anything like that. So if this doesn't get followed, the staff don't get the training and they lack the things they need to do their job properly, so they wouldn't know how to use the updated equipment, they wouldn't know what chemicals to use to clean the pool, stuff like that. And then this means that accidents can happen, and that means that they won't be able to be trained to fix these accidents. So if we go on to an example of this, basically the general first aider, so there'll be appointed first aider in the leisure centre, but everyone will have basic first aid knowledge. But basically the first aider will go on day courses, and what they'll learn is how to use a defib, CPR, and like also how to step-by-step instructions. So I've got two here. I've got RICE, which basically is rest, ice, compress and elevate. So that's where someone's got a sprained leg, so they'll stay off it and rest it. You'll apply ice to reduce the swelling, and you'll push on, apply some pressure to it, and you'll elevate it. So put it on a coffee table or on another chair, just to relieve the pain. And I've also got Dr. ABC, which is basically CPR, but Dr. ABC is just to stand for danger. So looking for what caused it, like is there alcohol involved, or have they fell over and hit their head off a chair and the chair's like applying pressure to the hair or whatever. You just move the danger without hurting the person who's injured. And also there's response, so you'll check if they're conscious. Then basically ABC is CPR, where you check the airway, and then breathing and compressions, where you'll try and get the heart started. So how does this like staff training contribute towards safety? So with the proper training, they are able to work in a situation where there's an injury. So if a customer has an open fracture, which is basically where they broke a bone and it penetrates the skin, they can stop the bleeding by applying pressure and elevating it without moving the body part too much to cause the person pain. And they can also support the bone. By knowing what to do, they have prevented the injury from getting worse and the injury for coming long term. So even if there is an injury, staff know how to deal with it. And then also another point is that with the training, like they can point out hazards, as I've said, but they can also, as they can point out hazards, they can learn how to deal with them and fix them. So how are these three things related? So through staff training, staff are able to do normal operations to like check broken equipment and see if it's safe, and to make sure the leisure centre is safe from like free of rubbish, there's no damage to like sports hall floors, and they're able to talk to the public. So through staff training, basically they are like able to do their job correctly, and they know how to do it well. So like through the first aid thing, again, if a person's injured, they know how to deal with it. But how NOC and EOC is related is by keeping the leisure centre safe, and by following NOC they can avoid accidents from happening. But if an accident does happen, then they can have emergency procedures to deal with it, like the fire, which I've explained, like how they deal with it. They get all the people out calmly, and then they'll go and check the rooms and everything like that. So on to the last thing, which is basically in terms of a sports coach. So basically I'm just going to put this in a big picture. So a sports coach would come in and basically half an hour before their session is due, so they'll check the facilities, if the cleaner has done their job and the staff have they done their job, just to double check, because sometimes activities what are done before, like in the sports hall, they'll leave rubbish behind, so the cleaner or like the staff haven't had a chance to clean it. So again, the sports coach would have to do it themselves. So after they've done that and checked, before, as like the kids will come in, they'll do a register just for in case of a fire, and that's what we're going to talk about. So in case of a fire, again, they'll follow that procedure of making sure that they'll sound the alarm, get out the kids safely. Again, that's kind of duty of care act, which is basically is like where you have to take care of the kids. The parents have handed you their like you're their like kind of guardian kind of thing. So again, you have to get them out safely, and that again you've took that register, so now you know that that just covers you to make sure that everyone is out of the building. And then if a fire did occur, like if a kid got injured because they ran out far and tripped, grazed their knee, as you're a sport coach and you'll move places, you'll have a mobility first aid and you'll have basic first aid knowledge. So you could treat that by like cleaning out the wound and then if everything like that. So that's basically in terms of the sports coach, how they will deal with like normal operating procedures, and how they will deal with emergencies and stuff, and how they will be trained and everything like that. So that's how staff in a leisure centre and sports coach would deal with them three things. Yeah, that one.